Why do those who are least concerned about fitting usually wind up being the ones that stand out? It's because the clamor of those attempting to fit the mold is overshadowed by the acts of others. Unlike normal alpha men, Sigma guys don't want to be the focus of attention, yet there's something about them that demands respect. They live their lives differently, making choices that may appear odd to others but always end up being in their best interests. These males don't engage in the same social activities as the general public. You might not initially notice them because they aren't the loudest people in the room or the ones attempting to establish themselves, but if you pay close attention, you'll notice patterns that distinguish them. What makes them intriguing isn't their strength or social standing, but rather their unpredictable nature. They are both fascinating and possibly dangerous because just when you think you have them figured out, they do something that totally surprises you and deviates from the accepted social norms. Don't misunderstand them. They're not looking for trouble. However, if you cross them, you'll quickly see why they're not to be taken lightly. Here are 7 characteristics that set these men apart from the others. The first is that they allow you to underestimate them. Have you ever noticed how being underestimated gives you a strange kind of freedom? When people think you're just another quiet guy, they let their guard down completely. This is where Sigma males prefer to be. Not because they have some clever scheme, but because they've learned the power of going unnoticed. People become careless around those they underestimate. They may even disparage the quiet one in the corner, not realizing that he hears every word, comprehends every hidden meaning, and sees through every facade they believe they're maintaining so well in the workplace. While others rush to draw attention to their accomplishments, Sigma males keep their victories to themselves. Their coworkers assume they're barely keeping up, and some even wonder how they're still employed. They freely discuss plans and strategies in front of them, never thinking that the quiet person might understand exactly what's going on. You'll notice that they never rush to correct these misconceptions when people talk over them in meetings or leave them out of important discussions. Sigma guys just let it happen, since being seen as less competent really benefits them because it allows them to operate with more freedom and less scrutiny. There is no complicated strategy here. It's just about realizing that there are benefits to staying under the radar because people rarely guard their words around people they've already written off, and that's exactly when they say too much number 2. Occasionally, they'll make a comment or demonstrate a skill that makes others pause not to show off, but because the situation called for it. These infrequent moments frequently leave people feeling uneasy and wondering what else they might have missed. There is something unsettling about someone who can wait longer than most people believe is possible, and patience isn't just about waiting, it's also about how you wait. You've probably witnessed it without realizing that guy who didn't react when someone tried to provoke him, didn't rush to defend himself against false accusations, and didn't immediately fight back when others tried to undermine him. Most people believed he was weak, but they were mistaken. This isn't the nervous, finger-tapping type of waiting, but the calm, calculated kind that leaves others wondering what's really going on. Sigma males are aware that time is a weapon if you know how to use it. While everyone else is hurrying to act to correct the situation at hand, they are playing a different game entirely. They understand that sometimes the best course of action is just waiting for the right moment. This can manifest itself subtly in negotiations, where they allow silence to linger uncomfortably long until the other party gives in and offers better terms in conflicts. While they save their energy for competition, they exhaust themselves with drama and allow rivals to exhaust themselves in an attempt to win quickly. This isn't your typical patience. Rather, it's the sort that may frighten others since they can't tell whether you're truly unconcerned or preparing something. The reason this method works so well is because most people can't tolerate ambiguity. They need to know where they are at the moment. Being patient doesn't imply being inactive. Have you ever had the satisfying feeling of winning an argument only to discover months later that everything went exactly as the other person predicted? It's not an accident, and it happens more often than you might think. Sometimes the most dangerous predators are those who know how to wait number 3. Sigma men see victory and losing differently. Most individuals enter discussions prepared to defend their positions, but these men often just disagree or even agree with things they know are incorrect. Not because they lack the ability to defend themselves, but rather because they have seen how things often transpire. For example, during a normal workplace discussion, everyone gets fired up attempting to justify their position, but the Sigma simply sits there with a little grin and says, "Maybe you're right." His colleagues depart with a sense of accomplishment, but 3 months later, when their strategy fails, they realize who proposed doing things differently. For example, at team meetings, when someone proposes a bad idea, They don't waste time opposing it, especially if the group appears to be set on it. Instead, they raise a few small points to appear as though they agreed, but when things go wrong, which they frequently do, they are frequently remembered as the ones who forewarned us. It's not about being smarter than everyone else. It's simply about choosing your moments. Sigma guys don't want to see other people fail, but some individuals only understand it when they experience it for themselves. Sometimes letting someone else feel like they're winning now leads to better results later. The funny thing is that by the time everyone realizes what actually happened, the whole thing has usually worked itself out without any arguments or finger-pointing, just a quiet lesson learned. Sometimes winning isn't about proving your point, it's about letting others feel like they're winning. While others celebrate their little victories, these guys keep their eyes on the bigger picture. Learn it on their own number 4. They forgive easily but forget nothing. Nobody remembers the person who wronged you, and everyone told you to forget and forgive. This is where Sigma males differ from other people. They will forgive far more quickly than most people anticipate, but forgetting is a whole other story. When someone makes a mistake, you'll see them react with unexpected grace without any major altercations. No harboring resentment. No ignoring. These men understand that holding on to anchor only serves to hold you back, so they genuinely let go of the emotional burden while keeping a mental note of every little detail, pattern, and warning sign for future reference. They may even surprise the person with how quickly they move past the issue, but they're not naive. They're just playing a longer game. They may seem remarkably amiable and open to someone who has violated their confidence, but they will detect small changes. A colleague who previously claimed credit for their job could still locate them, since there is a light but unbreakable gap. Less chance of treachery, and less sharing of sensitive information. Cooperative yet oddly absent from large-scale efforts. When a buddy gossips behind their back, they get the utmost civility but never learn anything personal again. Their forgiveness is genuine and useful. Why burn? There is a certain wisdom in this approach which keeps their circles drama-free while making sure they never fall for the same trick twice. After all, true power isn't in getting revenge, but in making sure you never have to number 5. They test people without showing it at a first glance. Bridges when you can just reinforce them. Why create enemies when you can keep potential threats close enough to watch but far enough to prevent damage? Although Sigma men may seem modest, it is a component of their approach. They have a method of assessing others without drawing too much attention to themselves. It all comes down to recognizing and evaluating the person they are interacting with. Subtlety is crucial in this situation. Sigma guys listen more than they speak, closely studying others and taking note of how they respond in various contexts. Recognizing actions that might indicate dependability, sincerity, or aspiration. It's a lengthy procedure. Instead than making snap judgments based on first impressions, they let things develop organically and observe how someone acts over time. Sigma men may ask a casual inquiry during a discussion to find out someone's opinions or stance on a topic without coming off as interrogating. Their testing isn't about passing or failing others. Rather, it's a silent assessment to determine whether the people in their life fit into their lives or if they need to keep a certain distance. What matters is how you respond. They'll notice if it's sincere or just put on thoughtful or dismissive. That's how they pick up on important insights about someone's character and motives without the person even realizing it. This method also provides information on possible allies or people to be trusted. Sixth, when it comes to self-expression, Sigma males aren't the type to go on and on or talk just to hear themselves speak. In a world where people frequently compete to be heard, they stand out by saying only what's necessary. This approach not only helps them avoid unnecessary drama, but also maintains an air of mystery. They are careful with their words, thinking before they speak and choosing to express only what adds value to the conversation. Sigma males aren't interested in labeling people, but rather in understanding how they might interact with them in the future. They also keep an eye out for anyone who might not have their best interests in mind. While some people brag to gain status or approval, Sigma males prefer to be the silent achiever, letting others discover their accomplishments on their own terms without fanfare or self-promotion. They don't enjoy drawing attention to themselves, especially when they're around people they don't know well. Instead of trying to fit in, they observe and listen. They're also comfortable with being quiet and frequently use it to their advantage. This personality type is also very reserved, especially when it comes to sharing personal information with new people. They typically keep their thoughts and feelings to themselves and only share what they feel comfortable sharing when they're ready. They are not antisocial, rather, they are selective about the information they choose to share. They also take their time developing trust and are not in a rush to share their personal stories with strangers. This reserved nature helps Sigma males navigate social situations, quietly going unnoticed without creating a stir. It's about appreciating prudence by keeping their cards close to the vest, not about concealing or being secretive. They keep their stories under control and shield their worlds from unwarranted inspection. In other words, their deliberate quiet is not an indication of loneliness but rather of careful consideration. Seventh place. They are aware that norms are necessary in society, even when they are not followed. Although they provide structure and aid in upholding order, not all rules are intended to be mindlessly observed. Rather, they often represent the opinions of those who made them and may not be applicable to everyone. This does not imply that Sigma guys are irresponsible or rude. They are just wise enough to see when it could be advantageous to think creatively. You've undoubtedly seen this in action. While everyone else is mired in bureaucracy and antiquated procedures at work, the Sigma is discreetly figuring out a faster method to do tasks. They're not the kind to brag about violating the rules. They just follow the script and go on, focusing on outcomes rather than impressing others. This is also true in their personal life. However, experience pressure to live a certain lifestyle, such as following trends, pursuing a typical job route, or getting married at a specific age. It's not about being a rebel or trying to stand out. It's about knowing when to follow the path and when to carve your own. To be honest, most people don't even notice they're doing it until they see the results. Sigma males don't let those expectations control them. They know what works for them and are confident enough to live by it, even if it looks unconventional to others. What makes this so effective is how natural it seems they're not out there causing chaos or picking fights with authority. Instead, they quietly assess the situation and determine whether a rule makes sense. If it doesn't, they move on without making a big deal about it.